Imagine a vault protected by layer after layer of security. Cameras, heat sensors, motion detectors, seismic alarms, a lock designed to be almost impossible to crack, 10 tons of steel guarding one of the most secure rooms on Earth. Then, one Monday morning in Antwerp, someone opened that vault, and more than $100 million in diamonds were simply gone. No explosion, no gunfight, no broken door. The thieves had defeated the security system, but they made one mistake, and it had nothing to do with the vault. Antwerp, Belgium isn't just a city. For over 500 years, it's been the beating heart of the global diamond trade. Roughly 80% of the world's rough diamonds pass through its diamond district at some point, a few square blocks guarded, quite literally, around the clock. At the center of it sits the Antwerp Diamond Center, a building that doesn't just store diamonds, it stores trust. Underground, 2 floors below street level, sits a vault holding roughly 160 safety deposit boxes. On paper, it was untouchable. 10 tons of steel, a combination lock with 100 million possible combinations. A door protected by magnetic and seismic sensors that could detect a change in the Earth's vibration. Infrared heat detectors that could pick up the body temperature of anyone in the room. Motion sensors covering every angle. Security guards, round-the-clock camera surveillance. Insurance companies had for decades considered it one of the most secure private vaults on the planet. That reputation was about to become the punchline of the entire story. The man at the center of it all was Leonardo Notarbartolo, an Italian diamond dealer with expensive taste and a quiet, unremarkable manner. Exactly the kind of person nobody looks at twice. In the late 1990s, Notarbartolo rented office space inside the diamond center itself. Think about that. He didn't sneak into the building. He walked in through the front door, signed a lease, and became a familiar face to the guards who were supposed to be protecting the vault from people exactly like him. He wasn't alone. Behind him was a crew later nicknamed the School of Turin, a loose group of Italian thieves with backgrounds in safecracking, electronics, and alarm systems. Each one brought a different skill to the table. One handled Vox, one handled security systems, one handled logistics. Together, they had one job: learn this vault better than the people who built it. This wasn't a smash and grab. This was closer to a military operation, stretched out over roughly 3 years. Notarbartolo used his rented office as a base of operations, spending his days simply watching. Watching the guards' shift changes. Watching how often the cameras were checked. Watching which days the vault was busiest and which days it sat quiet. The crew studied the alarm system down to its wiring, reportedly gathering enough technical detail to understand exactly how the heat sensors and motion detectors were triggered, and just as importantly, how those systems could be fooled without ever tripping an alert. They photographed the vault door. They studied the lock. Investigators later believe the crew may have even tested small-scale entries beforehand, slipping in and out to confirm their plan would actually work before committing to the real operation. By the time they were ready, they didn't just know the vault's defenses. They understood its blind spots better than the security company that installed them. The date? The weekend of February 15th to 16th, 2003. The crew moved at night when the building was empty and the Diamond District streets were quiet. To get past the exterior security, they reportedly used foam to block a heat sensor, starving it of the temperature spike that would normally trigger an alarm. Simple, almost embarrassingly low tech for a system worth millions. Then came the vault door itself. Instead of breaking the combination through brute force, the crew is believed to have used tools to manipulate the mechanism directly, bypassing the need to ever know the actual code. Every step was designed around one principle: never trigger the systems built to catch them. Not the motion sensors, not the magnetic contacts, not the cameras, which incredibly were positioned in a way the crew had already mapped out and avoided. Room by room, lock by lock, they worked their way down into the vault itself. Inside, Over 100 safety deposit boxes lined the walls, each one belonging to a different diamond dealer, each one holding a small fortune in stones, gold, and cash. The crew didn't have time to be selective. Working through the night, they pried open box after box, emptying the contents into bags. By the time they finished, estimates of the loss ranged as high as $100 million. Some reports placed it even higher, making it, at the time, one of the largest diamond heists ever recorded. Loose diamonds, polished stones, gold, jewelry, cash. Practically anything of value inside that vault was gone, and they walked out the same way they came in, quietly into the early morning, disappearing into the streets of Antwerp before a single alarm had sounded. For a few hours, the perfect crime existed. Here's where it falls apart.
In their haste to escape, the crew abandoned a bag of evidence along a nearby road as they fled, including, according to investigators, a half-eaten sandwich and other discarded items. But the real mistake was something much smaller and far more damning: a piece of paper, a receipt, reportedly bearing traces linked back to Notarbartolo himself. After 3 years of meticulous planning, studying cameras, defeating heat sensors, manipulating a vault door built to resist exactly this kind of attack, the entire operation nearly unraveled because of a piece of trash left on the side of the road. Belgian investigators combed through the discarded bag and its contents. The forensic trail eventually pointed them toward Notarbartolo, the diamond dealer who had for years rented an office just steps from the vault he was accused of emptying. Once his name entered the picture, the rest of the story started making a disturbing kind of sense to investigators. A tenant with legitimate access, a documented reason to be in the building at all hours, and years of quiet familiarity with a security system he was supposedly there to trust, not defeat. He was arrested. Other members of the crew were identified and picked up as well, as Italian and Belgian authorities pieced together the school of Turin behind the job.
Notarbartolo eventually stood trial in Belgium. He was convicted and sentenced to prison for his role in the heist, along with several accomplices. But here's the part that keeps the story alive decades later. The diamonds were never recovered. Not the loose stones, not the gold, not the cash. Whatever wasn't lost or destroyed in that abandoned bag by the roadside simply vanished, presumably sold off, broken apart, and scattered through underground markets, where a diamond's origin can be erased far more easily than its owner would like to believe. Notarbartolo has always maintained a strange, almost theatrical distance from the full truth, at times hinting to journalists that the case wasn't quite what it seemed, without ever fully explaining what he meant. To this day, security experts still study this case, not because of how much was stolen, but because of how it was stolen. No system was destroyed, no alarm was triggered until it was far too late. A vault marketed as nearly impossible to breach was breached anyway, not through force, but through patience. Years of watching, years of learning the building's rhythms better than its own security did.
It's one of the clearest real-world examples of a truth every security expert will tell you. The most sophisticated system in the world can still be defeated by the most basic vulnerability of all. A trusted person, given enough time and access, is far more dangerous than any outside attacker. Notarbartolo wasn't an intruder. For years, he was practically part of the building. More than 2 decades later, the diamonds from that vault have never resurfaced, at least not publicly. No mass sell-off, no dramatic recovery, no confirmed sightings in any market, legal or otherwise. Some investigators believe the stones were quickly cut down and recut into new shapes, erasing any way to trace them back to their original owners. Others believe portions of the haul are still sitting somewhere, waiting for the right moment or the right buyer to surface. And the man at the center of it all has spent years since his release giving interviews that raise as many questions as they answer, at times suggesting there's more to the story than the official record shows, and at other times saying nothing at all. So here's what we're left with.
A vault built to withstand nearly anything. A crew that studied it for years without ever being noticed. A mistake so small, a receipt, a discarded bag, that it undid 3 years of planning in a single morning. And somewhere out there, tens of millions of dollars in diamonds that have never been seen again.
The people were caught, the plan was exposed, but the diamonds are still missing. If you were planning the perfect crime, would 3 years of preparation be enough to protect you from one moment of carelessness? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And subscribe to Sokol TE for more true mysteries, impossible crimes, and stories that still have no ending.